Okay, so we're here today with Rannoch Purcell, aka Raz, as he's known in the Taiko community. He's going to be one of the Taiko leaders at our first Scottish Taiko Festival. And
Woohoo!
hey, man,
Taiko in
and yeah,
Scotland doesn't get better.
yeah. This is just so this. We're just going to have a quick, nice, wee, quick, chilled out chat with Raz, get to know him a little bit better, find out a little bit about what he does. I
Fun.
apologize for my cockerel sound effects.
Yeah,
Um,
you'd get arrested in Germany for making noise on Sunday.
I've got really nice neighbors. He's calling the fox, man. That's not smart. But anyway, so yeah. Raz, I don't know. What do you want to tell us a little bit about you? You know, introduce yourself. What's your background? What do you do?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've got a really crazy my life story has gone so many different ways. It's just been really nuts. I just kind of try to go with the flow. But basically, I've been a musician my whole life. In my 20s, I started touring with an alternative rock band, electronic rock band, with my a couple of my siblings, and we did that for like 11 years. We were pretty successful with that. Um, and then after that, I decided I wanted to go to back to university and get my degree in music. So I hit the books back in 2003. Went back to university, and while I was at university, I discovered taiko because my university had a taiko group, and I started playing there, and it just kind of gradually took over like every aspect of my life, basically to where I am now. And then when I finished university, I graduated and got recruited into a private school gig, um, teaching music, running a music program. And part of that program that I built was a taiko ensemble. So we started it's called the Celt Taiko high school group. It was one of the first academically accredited high school taiko programs in the US. It was the first, actually. And it was also college accredited. So it was a really cool program. It's still going. I ran that for 4 years, and then I moved to Germany. And a few years after I got here, then I started Taiko Zentrum Deutschland, and that was in 2015. And we've been doing that since. So yeah, it's Taiko just like took, or as soon as it entered my life, it really pushed everything else out of the way. I was studying to be an opera singer, like classical voice. I was doing opera, and um,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, and it was a crazy switch. At the same time I was doing all my music classes, I was doing lots of kinesiology with yoga and
Uh,
gymnastics and beach volleyball and all sorts of crazy stuff. So so I had these two different things, and taiko was the one thing in the middle that was the balance between my music studies and my kinesiology stuff. And I loved that balance that I found in taiko between the physical and the music. And I think that's what got me hooked on it. And since then, I just kept going with it. After I graduated, I played in the university group for a couple of years, and then me and my sensei, his name is Joel Mankey. He's a really good friend of mine. We started a business in LA called San Fernando Valley Taiko, where we just taught we taught private school lessons for like elementary school kids. I was working for the Catholic Church also as a singer and a composer, so I had connections within the parishes, and so we did that for a couple of years, and then yeah, then I 4 years later moved to Germany, and
wow,
now
you've done so much
yeah,
stuff, man. So
it's
many
been
different
it's been
projects. That's
crazy. It's been
crazy.
crazy. It's
That's
like
crazy.
yeah, it's nuts.
So you it sounds like you're a real pioneer, I suppose, in the in the taiko scene, man.
I guess I don't know. I mean, I don't really think about it as being like a pioneer, but I've done. I mean, like with Taiko Palooza, we started that event in 2016,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like I've told people, I didn't have this idea of starting any big taiko event or anything. I just wanted to get people together and like have fun. And I'd been down here at that point for 4 years. Yeah, I've been teaching at a private. I started a private taiko school here as well, like at a private international school. So I started a taiko group there as well. But I didn't have any connections to anybody playing taiko in Europe, nothing. And then
Hmm.
Shoji, I got in touch with Shoji Kameda from Kadon, and he told him about the European Taiko Conference, which is where I first started making connections. After I went to that conference, I was like, this was so much fun to get to meet other taiko players and make connections finally. It felt like I'd been living on a remote island somewhere, and all of a sudden I was going back to the mainland, and there are all these taiko players. Like, oh my god, I'm not the only one in Europe that's doing this, you know. And so it was so much fun, and I thought we got to do this more, you know. We got to have it happen more. And it was literally like 3 weeks or 4 weeks later that Martin and a few others came to my dojo here in Ulm in Germany, and we spent a weekend together. We called it Razfest, and we just played taiko together. And I didn't name it that; they named
Brilliant.
it that. Yeah, it
Brilliant.
was it was just a weekend of friends getting together to play taiko. We like taught each other workshops and like had a
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
and then I thought we got to do this again, you know, because I was so like I loved making these taiko connections. It was so much fun. And so as soon as everybody went home, I was like, okay, what's the next step? I was like, well, let's do it on a bigger level. Let's do the same thing. I'm just going
Mm,
to throw out an invite. Whoever wants to come can come to Ulm, and we're going to get together, bring your drums, and we'll just go up in my building and we're going to go play taiko for the weekend. So that was the first Taiko Palooza. And we had like 40 people there. Um, and it was just super super fun, really chilled out, no plan. There was absolutely zero plan outside of a few workshops. We said, okay, so and so is going to do a workshop here or whatever. And um but it was super loose and just chilled out. And
yeah,
the goal was not, oh, let's come and do taiko workshops together. The goal was, let's come and hang out together and make some friends that also play taiko. So it's the kind of networking, but mainly like making friends and building community. And that's what I really liked about it. And then just grew from there, and like became this big thing, you know. Um, and it was great to see Shoji and Yuta, you know, come from LA. That's the other thing is I've been living here for quite a long time, and um, I really miss my family, obviously. I miss my
yeah.
country and being home. And I go home a couple of times a year, but my family's in Utah and I was living in LA. So I have like another home in LA, and all my friends and really close friends from LA I didn't never got to see anymore. So this was also Taiko Palooza was a way for me to bring my Taiko friends from back home over to America, and for me to
Mm.
also make new connections. So like Shoji and Yuta and Mikey Ganata out from Hawaii and a bunch of people
And Kenny
that I
was there as well one year,
yeah,
wasn't
and
he?
Kenny's been here
That's
with
right.
Chisco a couple of times, and yeah, it's been great, you know. So it was a way for me to get people from back home over here as well, and that was just super exciting for me. I mean, the first time I got to bring, because I studied with Kenny a few times when I lived in LA, and
Mm,
I'd go to Hawaii and study with him, um, and so the first time I got to bring Kenny over here was like so amazing.
I
It was like
bet. I bet.
it was like everything had just traveled full circle, and now like, I had Kenny coming over to my school over here, and he has just been instrumental for me, one of the instrumental players in getting me started and in the right direction, and being an inspiration. So
He's been a big influence on a lot of Taiko players.
yes, absolutely, absolutely, and me,
Yeah, and that's why when we decided to start the Taiko festival, he was one of the names at the top of the
yeah,
list. Is like,
yeah,
this is one of the people who really want to be part of it, and it's just, and when and everything was so easy, we just
mhm,
send him an email. Hey, Kenny, do you wanna? How about
yeah,
this project? Do you wanna come over? And he's like, yeah, okay, fine.
yeah, yeah. It's all like
It's just
super, super laid
it
back.
was as
Yeah,
simple as that. It's like, whoa, I can't believe it, man. He's actually
yeah,
accepted our invitation. But
yeah.
going back to Taiko Palooza, I've never managed to make it, as you know, and it everybody that's gone that I know just keeps raving about it. What an amazing experience it was, and every time I'm like, oh my god, I'm missing out so much. But and it's interesting because we started looking at the Scottish Taiko Festival about
Mm,
2 years ago. We
yeah.
kind of, that's when we had the first kind of chat about it, and it's something we'd like to do in the near future if we manage to kind of somehow make it work. And
Mm,
I was sitting there with Martin and Shona trying to kind of create a project, and Martin just kept going about, well, the Palooza, we can that was his model. That was
right.
because it's such an amazing experience.
Mm,
So in a sense, part of what we're trying to do is copy what you've done.
Well, I think that's great, and it makes me really happy because one of the things I'd never planned an event before, and I
Yeah,
think it's kind of what made it work the way it did. Because for one, I don't like over planning. I
yeah,
like I play taiko the same way that I try and live my life efficiently, and so I don't like extra meetings. I don't like anything that's not going to serve a point, you know.
yeah,
I don't do
yeah,
things just to do things. I do them because they have a reason to do them. And so like with Taiko Palooza, I didn't want to over plan it and make it into some big huge convention thing that was like catered, you know, and everything. I wanted to just be, let's get together, just like back home on the weekend. I used to invite my friends over, or I'd get invited over to my friend's house for a barbecue, and they'd say, "Hey, can you bring some drinks?" Yeah, I'll bring some drinks. You could bring some food or whatever, and everybody pooled in together, and we all brought stuff together and had a big party, and
yeah, yeah,
it always worked out great. Everybody had a great, wonderful time. We didn't have to plan out, okay, we're going to play games from this time to this time. We're going to do this, you know, over planning it. It was just
yeah,
spontaneous, and that's the kind of feeling I wanted to go for with Taiko Palooza because I didn't want to spend so long like planning it all and trying to make it all perfect, and then having things, you know, not go the way that I had planned them, and feeling like there was a failure there. So I wanted to involve people, keep people, make them part of the event, so that everybody helps create what happens, um, and just keep it really loose and fun and relaxed with a focus on just enjoying each other's company, and you know, getting rid of all the politics and the BS, no ego, just, which is another thing that I'm really
great,
passionate
great.
about, is doing things for the right reasons, not having to try and show off or have somebody be better than the others, you know. And it turned out to just work so well, the plan, and with the community concert and stuff too, was one of the first things I said, all right, we're gonna do a community concert, but we're only playing like free licensed pieces. I'm not going to do this. Oh, you can only play this if you've studied with me thing. So if anybody wants to put pieces up in the pool that we can use for the concert, then that's great. And we don't take a preference based on who you are or anything else, you know.
Yeah,
Just if
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
good piece, we're going to do it. And so that's what we kind of did, and tried to keep politics and everything else out of it. And it just worked so well. Everybody had a great time because there was not a single group playing. It was always all these different groups combining together, and anybody could play on whatever songs they wanted to. And it was just a new kind of a way of approaching a taiko concert at a convention.
Definitely.
And it worked out so well. I've seen all these other events doing the same thing now, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. So,
We are definitely stealing some of your ideas, you know. It's definitely, you know, that
that's
that that
great.
that
I'm just glad
that
that it served
ethos
as an inspiration point to get people started thinking that way. And I was surprised because, like I said, I've never planned an event before, but the
yeah,
people that have come, like I remember San Jose when they were here, Franco Imperial and Yuta Chiba, Jeff, they were all saying we need to do more events like this in America. And I was like, really? Don't you guys do events like this in America? Like, no, there's nothing like this. There's nothing like this in the taiko community. And I was like, cool. You know, I was like, wow, this is crazy because, you know, I guess
at the
it,
end of the day, it's all about the people, isn't it? It's all about
yeah,
the people involved in it that make a difference. You know, it can be a well organized or a loosely organized event or whatever, but at the end
yeah,
of the day, if you've got the right people there,
yeah,
that's really what makes the event. You can have all these kind of fancy workshops and events and demonstrations and so on, but if it's not, I suppose, the right people delivering it and with the right spirit and so on, then it's
and that's the
just an
thing. I mean,
empty
you imagine like
showcase.
Shoji and Kenny and Yuta and all these instructors that have come taught at Taiko Palooza, and they all came over here at their own expense just to be part of the experience and
Yeah,
to support the community, you know, and build the
yeah.
community because they felt passionate about it. And I was like, this is the only field that I know of where the top professionals are going to travel somewhere on their
I
own
still cannot
dime
believe that. You know,
and
I
do
remember
it, you
when
know?
I always wondered how you made it work, and then I remember Martin telling me that, and I was like, wow, I cannot believe these
Yeah.
people. And no, and it's not like people are, you know, shouting to the heavens about it. And look, I'm doing this for free. They just do it and keep quiet about it. You
Just to
know,
do it, just to do it, you know?
it's amazing. It's amazing.
That's why I said this is the only field that I could think of that the top people in their field would in this field would come and do an event like this for free just because they want
Yeah,
to support the community, you know. And that was really, really amazing. That really says a lot about the type of people that most taiko players are, you know. Um, and that was also really, really inspiring me for me to see that happen, and humbling you know, to see
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
So it
absolutely.
was really, really cool. So I've been really proud of what we all accomplished with Taiko Palooza, and yeah, I hope to keep taking that farther. You know, we're gonna be doing the Utah Taiko experience this year now, and
Yeah, you you're involved in a lot of projects. So tell us a little bit about the Utah Taiko experience, because I've heard a lot of that and I've looked at it online and so on, and
yeah,
it looks amazing, and in a sense, once again, it looks very similar to the vision that we've got for this festival as well.
yeah, I can imagine.
So
Yeah,
we're gonna have to have really long chats about that because I want to
yeah,
know all about it.
yeah.
But tell us about it. So is it sold out? Is it still
It's
places
about we got
available?
about 2 or 3 places left, so it's almost at capacity.
So
I
people
haven't.
go and book it now.
Yeah, I know. I haven't checked it today to see.
Yeah,
We might have got a couple more. We got one yesterday too. So, um, but yeah, we're really close to filled up. But the whole idea, I go to Utah, like I said, twice a year to see my family. And in
yeah,
the summer, I spend the summer break there with my daughter, and she lives here in Germany with me, which is why I ended up in Germany in the first place. But I take her home to my family in the summertime. So when I'm in Utah, I love we live up in the mountains, like really remote in a little tiny village of like about 3,000 people. And the nature is incredible. It's really inspiring when you go up in the mountains. It's like Scotland.
it's
You
like
have this
yeah,
open landscape and there's just nothing, just fields and mountains and trees, and you're like, oh my gosh. And we got these beautiful lakes and things, and I love going fishing and spending time outdoors. So I'll get up early in the morning and go fishing at like 5:30 in the morning or whatever, when I'm there. And I love the peace and the quiet and everything. And one day I was up fishing and I was just by myself, casting the line into the lake and fishing. Nobody else was there. And I started thinking about Taiko while I was fishing. And I was like, this is so much like taiko, like this connected feeling, like I'm connected to nature here. When I'm playing taiko, I feel that same kind of connection. And I started thinking, would this be cool to like imagine if I could bring like Shoji and everybody over here to Utah and have them here for a taiko event? That would be pretty cool. And then I started building this idea. Wait a minute, maybe I could do that, and started playing with it more and more. We could open it up and make an actually event out of it and like bring people here, have them experience what I'm experiencing here with this connection to nature and being out and outdoors and seeing these incredible landscapes. And I mean, there's so much in that area to see. I was like, I could share all that with all these taiko players and they'd totally get it because taiko, the reason most people like taiko is for that connection to something bigger than you are,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I thought it just matches, it fits so well. And so I went to the next European taiko conference and I was talking to Shoji and I told him about it, about my idea. And he was like, if you're going to do it, I want in. So I was like, all right, let's do this. And I talked to Yuta. That's where I met Yuta Kato, is at that European Taiko conference, the second one that I was at. And we got talking. I told him about it. And he's like, Raz, if you're doing that, I want to be in on it. And so they were the first two people that I talked to about doing it. And we had a plan for 2020 and it got canceled because of COVID. And
Yeah.
so put it way off. And then finally now we decided to do it again this year. So yeah, so we've got it going, and it's basically a nature retreat and a taiko retreat at the same time.
I just love that idea, and once again, that was one of the ideas we kind of had on the table as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, like you said, I've never been to Utah, but it
Oh,
sounds like
that's incredible.
it's very similar to what to this area of Scotland as well. You've
Yeah.
got lakes, you've got forest, you've got mountain
Yes.
trails, you've got fishing, wild swimming.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just sounds amazing. I actually
Yeah,
mentioned it
and
to
the
my
thing is too is like there's lots of people that watch the commercial for UTE and we're like, oh, that's going to be too crazy. It's too extreme. Like I see
Mm.
people jumping off cliffs and like rock climbing and stuff. I'm not that kind of person, but it's kind of tailored for everybody because we're just going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go
yeah,
to
yeah,
these places and then it's your free time. The whole thing was this is the other aspect of Utah Taiko experience that's different is we're going 10 days. It's like a long
yeah,
like a marathon. So instead of like partying super hard, like what happens at Taiko Palooza and European Taiko Conference, everybody gets together. It's a few days long. So they try and live the moment and like everybody's partying and drinking and it's crazy. It's super awesome, but it's crazy and
yeah, yeah,
chaotic.
yeah.
Um, and this is more like we want it to be like a really healing experience. So we're actually recommending no drinking. we're going to actually we have an alcohol and drug policy in place to kind of keep that at a very minimum, so that people can be up early, power through the day, have time to relax, have lots of downtime out in nature to relax and enjoy the scenery. Or if you want to go do some hiking and some more aggressive stuff, then that stuff is there as well, and you can do that. But if you just want to go like sit on a tree trunk and look at the sky, whatever, you can do that too. It's
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of everybody does their own thing. And then in the morning, we have like a taiko workshop. In the evening, we have a taiko workshop every day. And then on the end of it, we do another community concert. We do some workshops with the public and to share the taiko with them. And so in the end, it's like, I get to share my home area of Utah and all these places I love with all these great taiko players. And then we also get to share taiko with a new community that's never heard taiko before. And we're going to do a concert in the park, and it's free, and the
So
whole community
amazing.
can come watch it. And we're doing workshops for the public for free, and they can come and play taiko, have a chance to play
I might
taiko.
try and convince my wife to come.
Yeah, seriously, it's really going to be
Oh,
insanely cool. And I think my goal is that people are going to go away from it, just have this really healing experience and this incredible experience of connecting with a bunch of other awesome people, doing something super positive for a community
yeah.
and connecting with them, and just this
Honestly, it just
overall.
sounds so amazing. It just sounds so amazing. And just the idea of getting together with people to do something you love and you're absolutely crazy about, which is
Yeah,
playing taiko, but
yeah,
also have that space in nature and to explore a new place. And
yeah.
that's, to me personally, that's just like perfect
Right.
holiday.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Perfect.
that's why I want it to be a relaxing holiday too.
Yeah.
And I talked to Shoji and Yuta about this, that, because I did a master's degree in education, music education. And one of the things that I really focused on when I was doing my degree was the idea of our educational system, and the way that we learn is
uh,
is pretty flawed. Like,
yeah,
we had this idea
I
of
agree with
cram
that.
as much as you can in, cram as much as you can in, and that means you've learned it. And it's totally not true. If
I
you take
agree with that. Yeah.
bite-sized chunks, just like eating a meal, if you sit down and eat a gigantic plate of food, then it's not going to digest properly. If you take it in small chunks, that's the healthiest way to eat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Small
Yeah.
bits and let it digest. And that's what we want to do with UTE as well, is to take a good chunk of taiko in the morning, have all this time in the afternoon to let it digest, right? And do something else that's completely unrelated. And then come back, do some more taiko again. So you have all this downtime to process the information, rather than taiko, 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 taiko for 4 days. And then you go home and you go, I can't remember anything. Can't remember anything I did. It was great fun and I had a blast, but God, I can't remember any of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That happens to
So,
me all the time. I'm the kind of guy that, I take time to process things. So I like that. I like to get a bit, go away, ruminate over it, and really try and visualize. I'm quite a
yeah,
visual learner, so I like to try and visualize and things and kind of go over it, and then go on to the next bit and so
yeah.
on.
Well, you
Otherwise,
think,
my brain switches off and
yeah,
you just feel overwhelmed. It's like you said, you have a great time, but too much is too much.
yeah,
Too much of a
exactly.
good thing.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And if you're when you think about what taiko is, there's so much movement involved.
Yeah,
And that's muscle memory. And that just
yeah,
takes
and it takes time for your body
repetition,
to.
repetition, repetition. And so it takes time for your brain and your body to learn those and to combine that coordination. And so with more time and lots of downtime, that's what we're hoping, is that the process is that we're gonna get a lot more out of the taiko
Yeah,
section of the event. We'll be able to process and learn a lot more efficiently. And that's the
yeah.
idea, is to try and make that happen.
A few things you've kind of said there, you know, kind of make me think I could be wrong, but it makes me think you're quite in touch with the kind of more spiritual side of taiko as well, and just
Yeah, I'm
just
kind
in
of a
general.
spiritual person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's really interesting, and I don't know. I really like the idea about the healing power of the
Mhm.
drums. And is
Yes.
that something that's important to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, well, I do yoga a lot too. And in my dojo here, we do yoga every day before we play taiko. So it's
Uh,
it's just part of the lesson. We do about 15 minutes of yoga before we get started. And I've been doing yoga. I found yoga at the same time I found taiko, and I started both of those at the same time. Um, and I found yoga to be so healing and I mean, it's so good on so many levels, and it just brings me into balance and awareness of my body and what my body needs and stuff. And I find Taiko to be the same in a lot of ways. But I love the meditative aspect of Taiko and also of yoga. I feel like they just fit together really, really well. But I can say that I think doing yoga has really enhanced my appreciation for Taiko as well.
Yeah,
And I love the fact that they're both, and so my approach to Taiko is also from a very health conscious standpoint. So I really try and focus on how can we do this for a long time and do it healthy, make it healthy.
hmm
Because I don't think there's enough, honestly, I don't think there's enough attention being paid to the physical stress that we can get from
yeah,
playing Taiko and how we can mitigate that. So I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out ways to make Taiko something we can do till we're 100 years old and make it something that supports a healthy lifestyle rather than developing repetitive stress, injuries, or
yeah.
things like that. And so that's kind of a big focus of my Taiko playing and my teaching is making Taiko healthy to play so we can do it for a long time, do it for a
I think,
lifetime.
yeah, I think that's so important, you know. And when I learned taiko, the focus wasn't on that at all. It was on, here's how you hit a drum, here's some choreography, let's put it on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
and uh, and I thought it was great, you know. I thought this is amazing and stuff. And
Yeah,
then you know, and then you start doing it a bit more serious, and then you start doing it professionally, and you start touring, and then
right.
the injuries start coming, and that happened to me. All those, you know, all that you mentioned, all those stress injuries, repetitive
Hmm.
strain injury. Um, I lost the feeling on my fingers on
Yeah,
one hand
see,
in one
nerve
tour.
damage, right?
Yeah, nerve damage. I, you know, lost them for about 9 months. I couldn't feel the tip of my fingers. You know, things like that. Just I used to wake up in the middle of the night in pain. Ah, you
Yeah,
know, crazy stuff. You know, just because of the strain. And it wasn't until later that I kind of started to appreciate more looking after my own body. I can't really blame my teachers because obviously, you know, it's you know, the onus is on you as well.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
as a learner to kind of look after your own body.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's really important, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. I think so too, and that's
At the end
why
of
I think yoga helped me a lot. Is like you said, creating this awareness of your body and what it can do. And I always think, I've got my daughter. I had my daughter when I was 36, and I'm 50 now. So I just turned 50 this year. And I always thought when she was younger, I want to be able to be active and be doing things with her, like be able to go on adventures and do crazy stuff with her
yeah,
when I'm much older. And so yoga was really important for me to keep my flexibility up and um, just the ability to be able to move and do things freely and
yeah,
feel healthy, feel good. So over the years, it's kind of funny because in Europe, like, for example, drinking is like a big thing. Everybody goes drinking. That's what the social thing is. Oh, let's go out for a drink. That's, what is accepted. And I quit drinking a few years back, and um, just because I started getting more and more aware with the yoga and stuff of what my body wanted, and I kept thinking, I don't need to drink. Why do I? Why do I do it? And so I just stopped. Um, on very rare occasions, I'll still have something, but it's not a regular thing that I'd say I do more than once every 6 months or so. So, um, yeah, I think just the health aspect, and I've seen that carry over into my taiko playing, that like this awareness of the body. And I look at some of the videos of these taiko groups, I'm like, well, that looks really, really cool, but if you're doing that all the time, that's not good.
yeah,
And these really deep stances with the same foot forward all the time. It's like, now you got to switch. You got to balance it out, put the other side forward. And I got that idea kind of from yoga, because in yoga you stretch one side and then you also stretch the other side.
yeah, yeah.
Always a balance,
Balance.
right? Making sure that you do, you're doing forward bend and stretching the hamstrings. Well, then you gotta counter that with a back bend to stretch the quads, right? And always having this balance play. And I think that's what I want to get happening more in Taiko, is making people aware, hey, this is looks really great, it's awesome, but let's try and counter that now with something else to make sure that you're getting balance while you're playing. And
Hmm
and your body isn't going to develop like repetitive strain problems. Um, yeah, so that's kind of been my approach over the years, is for myself and for my students to like keep it really healthy so people can get
Yeah.
the most out of it and enjoy it and keep doing it for a long, long period of time. So
So when you approach taiko, when you approach taiko teaching and drills and choreography and all of that. And do you focus very much on the physical and biodynamic side of it, or do you also think about the effect of how the flow of energy can have a positive or negative impact, or do you think they're both related? What I mean, what
I
what
think
do you
that
think about?
this is all my personal, and all the stuff I'm saying, this is just my personal take. I don't want to say what's right or wrong, but what works for me, you know?
Yeah,
I'm not like a super crazy, like hippie, bohemian yoga dude. That's not what I'm trying to do, man. But I do like, I like the awareness of energy, and I am a spiritual person. I like this connection to nature and stuff. And so, but when I approach things, I try and present it in a way that's appealing to both people that maybe are very spiritual and people that aren't, so that
yeah,
both people can get a lot out of it. And so, for example, when you're talking about energy, like I always approach playing with this idea of you're playing with gravity and rebound from the drum. Well, those are both very real energies. They're there. You throw your bocce up in the air, it's going to come back down. So my kind of philosophy is like bringing this gravity and the rebound energy of the drum that are both going opposite directions, bringing those into balance. And that's what we do as a taiko player, is to stand in the middle of those two energies and bring it into balance so that it's a continuous flow of energy. And a lot of people approach that differently about the energy of the drum and kind of personalize that, and like the tradition of the belief of the oni that lives in the taiko, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I like that idea too, because that's a nice picture to have of this entity that lives in the drum that wants to come out and sing, and you're pulling that energy, out of the drum up into the air to share it with everybody, rather than beating the oni over the head and like, keeping him pressed down into the drum. It makes a good picture, right? It's a good image to have. But in the end of the day, the energy, even though you can't see it, it's real. That's real stuff that you're dealing with there. And there's ways to direct that energy, not control it, but to direct it and the flow of it in ways that make your playing very, very efficient. And that's
Yeah,
kind of what I try and do. So whether you're spiritual or whether you're not, the energy is still there. You
yeah, yeah,
can't deny it. It's there. And if you learn to bring it into balance, then you can really play relaxed and healthy and everything for a long, long, long time. But it's obviously if you're holding your bocce down all the time and too stressed, and all that vibration coming from the drum and through your bocce is going into your hands and your
of
wrists, and
course.
you get carpal tunnel and all sorts of problems, right? So I think there's a lot of things that we need to pay attention to as far as like the health aspect. So, but I think that's where the my spirituality in taiko lies, is this balance of actual physical energy that is there, and this energy coming off of the drum, right? And just bring that into balance, and learning to listen to it. Same thing, listening to your body and listening to what your body wants, and what your body needs. I think just awareness.
I think I really like I really like that approach, and that's something I try to do as well. I always try to find a way of connecting both with people that quite spiritual, but also the people that don't want anything to do with spirituality,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
And I remember I was teaching a class once, and I was trying to obviously explain the both sides. From a physical point of view, these make sense, but also from a more spiritual point of view, you can you know it, that's the idea of the spirit of the drum and awakening the spirit and so on.
Mhm.
And I think I can't remember how I worded it, but I think I said something like, or if you like to think about the more esoteric side of things, then blah 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 blah. And I didn't really dwell on that. And then afterwards, I had a lady that came to me and she said, "I'm really interested in the esoteric side, not so much in the you know
Yeah.
physical aspects of it. So can you tell me more about that?" And I was like, "Oh right, okay, well that's fair enough. That works for her."
Mhm.
And my wife is the same. That's something she's really interested in
Yeah.
personally, and she absolutely loves that, and she feels
Mhm.
that connection, and that's important to her.
Mhm.
Whereas to me, I'm thinking, how can I make this physically
Yeah.
efficient?
Efficient.
And I like to visualize that. I like to visualize the spirit of the drum, and feel those sound waves. And
Yes.
I know the physics behind it, I understand it, but I like to think about it as, yeah, like a living force and so on, because that
Mhm.
that helps me connect with it and really play with more
Yeah,
intensity and energy, even if it's, you know, something just in my mind. You know, personally, I think that helps me. So I
right.
think, yeah, I don't know. I think that's important. You know,
Yeah, we
as
talk
well.
about like yesterday too. I was doing a workshop. I've been doing a lot of work with Ki this week,
Uh-huh.
and that's another energy that I really love with Taiko. And this is the one that I think is probably my favorite, is because like the energy that you have with your other players, like the energy that you share with the group. Kumi Daiko is great for that because it's a group Taiko, you know. So we get this chance to play Taiko with other people, and that's not very new. That's or not very old. I mean, it's a relatively new concept. So, um, and that's I think the thing that I love about Taiko the most is the opportunity to have this powerful experience of playing these crazy awesome drums with other people and to share that energy. And that's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
energy that I'd say is more like a spiritual type idea. This energy that we're sharing with each other is not as physically present as like gravity, obviously, but it really is there if you're aware of it and listening to it. And when we're doing like really, really loud ki, it's like, you know, this release of your own personal like strength and your energy, and it's a projection of confidence and surety. And it has so many benefits, you know, get you
yeah,
out of your socially acceptable self to being this person that can be as loud as they want, and I'm going to loud and proud just do it, you know. um, it's such a great confidence builder. But doing it as a group and sharing that energy with each other, I was talking to my students yesterday about, you know, if the louder you ki, that's the more energy you're giving out to the group, and then everybody else is going to feel that and feel empowered to do it themselves, and then they start doing it and they're giving you energy, and then we have this whole big energy cycle that's just going round and round and round, and we're giving each other all this energy, and it's so exciting and powerful and just fills you up, and then you can play with your whole heart and your whole body, and everything goes into it, and you'll get tons more out of it. I said, do your ki, like do your ki. You'll enjoy playing taiko like 10 times more than you have in the past, the louder you do your ki, you know. So I think that's the best way to tap into that. But that group energy, being aware of each other, not just playing a drum, but playing it with the people next to you and the people across from you, and playing it with the group, and you're
together.
having shared. It's like a discussion. It's like having a conversation like we're doing right now. You know, you listen to
Yeah,
me playing something, and then I listen to you and you play something back for me, and we make those work together. It's just relationships. It's like relationship building. And I think that's the thing I love. I'll probably say the most about Taiko is that relationship building aspect of bringing people together to share that experience. And yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's really powerful. I think Taiko is one of the best mediums for doing that I have found. And that's why I love it so much. It's such a great medium for bringing people together.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that's really important for you, the community aspects.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's my number one. The reason I keep doing it, I think, is
Good,
yeah, yeah,
good, great.
yeah.
And and you know, speaking of community aspects, so you're gonna come over to Scotland and share some of
Yes.
your knowledge
Yeah.
and you know, some of your experience, and you're gonna be doing the yoga, which
Hmm.
I must say, your events at the Scottish Festival are really popular.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
great. That's
So the
awesome.
yoga's on at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So so that tells you something.
It's great. Yoga is the best for taiko. It's so much fun to go to
People are
yoga.
willing to wake up early to go and do
Right.
some yoga with you. And your workshop on the Saturday is really busy. I think there's only actually a couple of spaces left.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think after the Kenny's workshops, it's the busiest one so far.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So
That's nice to hear.
can you tell us a little bit about that workshop? You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so you're going to be
It's
doing
probably
steampunk?
almost full because, you know, because Martin and Shona are such great people and they're such great friends of mine. So they probably went and told all their students, okay, you guys, you have to register for Raz's workshop. All right. Just do it. It'll make him
Yeah.
really happy, you know. So
I think lots of not just you know, Martin and Shona, but lots of people know who you are, and
well,
you
I
know,
hope everybody gets a lot out of it. I feel really actually pretty humbled to be a part of the event and to be asked to come teach. I'm not an ego person at all. I don't I don't I don't really do the ego thing. And so it's really humbling for me to get to go to an event and be asked to come teach somewhere. So thank you for that, for the opportunity.
It's going to be
Um,
amazing to have you. Yeah.
the steampunk workshop is a little piece I wrote. I've written a whole bunch of songs, but hardly any of them are like stuff that we can play really. I did a Taiko album of a bunch of stuff for like film and television and wrote like 15 songs or something. That I keep thinking I've got to get these into like a group form that I can teach my students, but it just hasn't happened. Um, but steampunk is one of the ones that I actually finished up. So steampunk is like it was inspired by my daughter and my nephew. They were both into the whole steampunk fashion
Oh, yeah.
thing, the whole visual aspect and clothing and everything. And so this is like several years ago, and I thought, oh, I'll write a piece called steampunk then. And so the idea was like, in steampunk, you see all these big machines with all the big gears and cogs, and they're
Yep.
all,
Yep.
it's like this big machine that like all the pieces have to work together. And if one
I
little
love
tiny
steampunk,
piece,
by the way. So,
yeah, I think it's
so
super cool
I'm
too,
really
right?
curious about this.
So the idea was to create a taiko machine, basically, that's like every rhythm has to be played just perfectly, and if it's not right on time, it's going to break down the whole song, right? The whole song will fall apart. So everybody has to be perfect on time so that the machine functions, right? So there's not a jiuchi. There's not really a jiuchi pattern. Instead, it's like there's a bunch of repeating motifs that enter at different times and have to like they complement each other. Um, it's kind of like they make each other work, and you have to know what the other parts are doing to make your part work. If that makes sense. So it's like a lot of understanding like what everybody else is playing, so that you can play your part the best, right? But without understanding what the other people are playing, then you can't play your part as well as you could. It's kind of that kind of a concept. So the rhythms are they're not that difficult. Some of them are dead easy, but they have to be played in perfect sync with the other stuff that people are playing. So, and that's where it gets kind of tricky. So it's a fun little piece, and then it's got kata. Like the rhythms themselves, like I said, are pretty easy. A lot of them. But then it's got some fun kata, like big kata that we're doing with the different motions. And want to make it look like kind of wheels or cogs, like spinning. These kind of
Cool.
imagery
Amazing. It
with the
sounds amazing,
kata.
man.
Um, yeah, and so we add that element on top of it as well, and then it's a fun little piece. It's a pretty cool little piece. I like it.
Great stuff. It sounds,
So yeah, I've
it does
taught it
sound
to
really cool.
a
It
bunch
does
of
sound.
my students, and we've done it at Taiko Palooza a couple of times. Um, so it'll be fun to spread it around and yeah, give it to some other people to try and play it too. So yeah, so I'm excited. It'll be fun. It's a little brain work, but
Yeah.
should should be pretty fun. Yeah.
Great stuff. Great
Yeah.
stuff. So, this is not your first time in Scotland. You were telling me earlier. You've
No, I
been to
spent
Scotland.
many years in Scotland visiting. So my mom's from Glasgow. My mom was
Oh, is
born.
she?
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't
she was born
know.
in Glasgow. So that's where I got my name Rannoch. Is from Rannoch.
Right. Okay.
So my parents like they pulled out a map of Scotland when they named me, like oh, they pointed to the map, and my dad hit Rannoch Moor, and so they oh, Rannoch, that's kind of like it.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, but then nobody could say it in America, so then I ended up going by Raz because it was much easier. So yeah, so that's where I got my nickname too.
Amazing
But
story.
yeah, so anyway, so in my 20s, I have lots of family in England and from Scotland, but living in England. So I started visiting Scotland back then and visiting my family and with my parents and stuff. So yeah, since I was in my early 20s, I've been going to Scotland all the time and on
Oh, that's
vacation.
amazing.
Yeah.
So hopefully these will be a special occasion for
Oh,
you
it's
to
gonna be
come and play
great. Yeah, I
taiko in
know. So it's so
Scotland.
wonderful to like meet Martin and Shona at that first European Taiko conference. And they're such great people. Like they're such good friends of mine. And to meet taiko players in Scotland, I was like, this is so cool. It's so awesome. And so now I've been over to Scotland. I went over with my first sensei Joel. We did a workshop tour together. We went to Scotland and taught at Tsuchigumo. And that was just amazing to get to go and play taiko like in Scotland. Like this is so cool, be able to do both and visit them. So yeah, it's gonna be great to
Amazing.
combine the two. Yeah, so really looking forward to it.
Amazing. So the final question I've got for you is So are you gonna have a drink at the Killy then, or
I may on the last night, maybe
you can have a Coke? You can have a Coke.
I'll have a weed ram. Yeah, I could do that. Like I said, special occasions I'll have a drink. And like Taiko Palooza, oh,
Too much?
it's bad. Like I didn't drink the whole event, and then the last night, then Yuta was like, "All right, Raz, we're gonna drink," and I was like, "Oh no." So yeah, I probably had too much. There was a video of I think it was Martin and Shona and a bunch of others singing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles song at like 150 decibels. It was crazy loud.
Sounds about right.
It was hilarious. And the neighbors from the across the street came over and like said they were going to call the police. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. It was pretty crazy. So yeah, I don't want to do that again.
No, you can do that if you want. It's fine.
So,
We'll get the
but
village
yeah,
to hate us, but
I definitely want to enjoy and celebrate with everybody. But I'll happily celebrate with you guys with no alcohol. I'll just do that.
we'll have some alcohol free beers for you for sure.
Yes. I like alcohol beer. That's good. I love beer, but I just don't like to drink the alcohol so much. Yeah.
That's
So
fine. That's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Raz, it's been great to have you.
Oh, it's been great
Really,
talking to you,
really
man.
nice. Yeah,
Super
really
excited
nice
to
talking
meet
to
you
you.
in person and yeah.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to, to meeting in person and, your workshops
Oh, thank
and
you.
just having you around.
Thanks, man.
And
I appreciate it. Yeah,
thanks
and I'm
for all.
working on that logo for you too. So
Yes,
yeah.
thank you for all the help you've been, so obviously people don't know, but Raz is, really, really helping out with the festival. So
Oh,
that's,
thanks, man. I'm glad
we
to.
really appreciate that.
Glad to do it. It's my pleasure.